once you've built your email marketing strategy and you know what you're going to promote, who you're going to promote it to, and what kind of emails you will send as part of your promotion, then you need a system that will actually be able to do it for you. There are tons and tons of systems in the market, like MailChimp, Aweber, Infusionsoft, GetResponse, Entrepot, Constant Contact, MedMimi, Campaign Monitor, and many, many others. And each of them obviously can do the same basic things. They can send emails to people who sign up for your list. That's why sometimes it's quite tricky to choose which one is going to be the right for your particular business. And that's what we're going to talk next. So the first, you can look at systems, whether they are single list or multi-list. So multi-list means that you can set up lots of different lists within the system. You can set up opt-in forms for each of the separate lists. You can easily move people between different lists. You can send a newsletter or a campaign to more than one list at a time. So you could have your regular newsletter list, and then you can have your freebie list. You could have a special webinar list. You could have product 1, product 2, product 3 list. And when you're sending your campaign, you can send to just one list, 2 lists, or all of the lists at the same time. And it doesn't matter if the person happens to be on one list or more, they'll still get your newsletter just once. So the system will make sure that they won't get duplicates. This happens with multi-list systems. The single list systems are typically things like Infusionsoft, Entrepot, and One Shopping Cart. And everyone gets added into this one giant database of people. And the way you segment and decide who is going to get which communication is using internal system tags, groups, categories. And again, you can have lots of tags for one person or just one tag, and they can be on several campaigns and several autoresponder sequences. MailChimp is the funny one here, because yes, you can create multiple lists within MailChimp, but the way they've built the whole system is effectively it's a single list system. So if you have people on several lists, you can't choose and send a newsletter at several lists at a time. So you'll have to do it your newsletter list, then your product list, then your webinar list, and so on. And then if a person happens to be on several lists at a time, they'll end up getting the same newsletter several times. So the ways to avoid it is either you do a lot of admin manual work when you have to copy people from different lists into your kind of main database list. So before you send a newsletter, you go to all your lists and then copy new people, put them into your main list and maybe tag them in the main list, or put them in the categories in the main list and do all this manual work. Or you sign up to a tool like Zapier.com, and then it can run those automation zaps. And when someone gets added to one of your lists, Zap will then put them in the main list as well. The downside is obviously then you're paying subscription to MailChimp and you're paying for your Zapier automation as well. And in this case, it becomes not really cost efficient, and you may as well just go for a system in a multi-list category. So MailChimp works pretty good for someone who is happy to have just one list. So if you're, for example, a local business and you just want to have a normal newsletter when people sign up on your website, and then you send them once a month your newsletter with special offers for the month and what's happening in your business, and you don't really have all these different activities that happen in an online business, like different marketing funnels and products and webinars and campaigns, and each of them requires a separate list typically, then MailChimp is a good system. But if you start going down this route of having lots of different campaigns to promote your business, and for each of them you want to separate people who are signed up for this campaign or that campaign or this webinar or that webinar, then you'll be much better off going with a multi-list system. Unless, of course, your budget allows you to go straight for something like Infusionsoft or Entrepot. So let's look at MailChimp first and decide if it's good for your particular business or not. So the pros of MailChimp, well, can't speak. It can be free to get started. So if you don't want to use autoresponders, if you just want to use email newsletters, you can get started for free. It means that every time you send a newsletter, they'll put a badge at the footer, which will be promoting MailChimp. And if you use their hosted forms, so like their form posted on your Facebook tab, or if you don't put form on your website, but actually use form hosted by MailChimp, then it will also have a MailChimp logo at the bottom promoting MailChimp. So then, obviously, this is how they make sure that they get the word out to more businesses about MailChimp. And also many people think, oh, I'll just sign up for MailChimp and then I can use it for free. It's quite easy to use. It's a pretty intuitive system. So it doesn't take long to learn how to use it. Or at least you learn the basics. It's got good integration options with things like social media platforms, PayPal, Eventbrite, other shopping carts, different CRM systems. So if you use other systems in a business, then you can go to MailChimp website and look at the list of integrations and ensure that whatever other systems you already have in your business, they're going to integrate with MailChimp without problem. When you send a campaign out, you can include social sharing buttons. So those who receive your campaigns, they can share those campaigns with their friends on social media. They've got pretty good drag and drop email designer. So you can drag different elements like columns and headers, titles, links, buttons, and build the campaign without knowing anything about coding, HTML, CSS, and so on. So it's quite easy in this regard. They also got some pre-built templates, so you can start with one of their templates and then customize it based on your business branding and particular needs. With MailChimp as well, good thing, you can import lists without having to go through the double opt-in process again. So if you use currently some other system, or if you just have a list of potential clients, prospects that you'd like to get started your email marketing with, then you can import those lists without those people having to receive an email saying, would you like to receive my newsletter? Click this link to confirm your email address. So you can just import and start sending to them. MailChimp's got very basic form designer. So this form designer is only really useful if you're going to use the hosted version of the form. But if you try to import the form on your website, then the design won't be applicable. It's got quite good reporting functionality, especially for autoresponders. It's quite clear and easy to see what kind of results you get with your campaigns. They offer file and image hosting. So when you're creating your campaigns, you can just upload your images for the campaign to MailChimp. And you don't need to worry about where you're going to host them, if you're going to put them on your website or somewhere else and get links for those. It's all done within MailChimp. And then recently they've enhanced quite a lot their autoresponders. So you can now send autoresponders based on particular date. So for example, if you have a birthday for your prospect, you can send an autoresponder on this particular date and wish them happy birthday. Or you can send autoresponder, say, 1 month from the purchase of the product. Or if you set a particular date when the package or payment plan is going to run out, then you can send autoresponder to remind them that they need to upgrade or renew or do something about it. So this is the date autoresponders. The action autoresponders happen when you send your first email out, which has, for example, a file attached to it with your free report. And then the action would be that the people who receive the email, they click the link and they download the file. Or you send an autoresponder and it's got a link to your website or to a blog. And they click the link and then go to your website and blog. And then this action triggers the following autoresponder. So then after that, you can say, okay, so you've downloaded the report. What do you think about it? But you're not just sending this email to everyone who might not even had the chance to download it yet and asking them what they thought about it if they haven't read it. And then you can also do linear sequences, which are the most common ones. And they happen when someone signs up, they receive their first newsletter, a couple of days later they receive second email, then a couple of days later third email, and the sequence just keeps going like this with the gaps between emails the way you specify them. So these are the pros. The cons, although you can get started for free, if you want to use autoresponders, you have to actually use a paid account. So you won't be saving anything there. If you use API integrations with certain systems like PayPal, then through the integration, everyone will get put into one same list. So you won't be able to actually distinguish when people buy something through PayPal on your website, whether they bought MP3 download, whether they bought a coaching course, if they bought an attendance at an event. So there's no way for you to segment and then send more targeted campaigns. So if someone bought an MP3, you can then send them an email to say, hey, here is a transcript. You might find this interesting as well. Or if someone bought a coaching course, you can then try to sell them to come to your event. And someone went to your event, you can send them email to say, here's another event you might be interested in. So with PayPal integration, everyone's in the same list, and it's quite difficult to work out what they bought. So again, to overcome this problem, you'll have to use something like Zapier. And pay for an extra system to actually break people into separate lists or separate groups within one list. So you can't add forms to your website with design. So no matter how pretty you've done your form and whatever content, design, images you put on the form, once you decide, okay, I'm going to use it on my website, MailChimp will just give you the most basic form with name, email, and an ugly sign-up button. And then either you have to use another tool on your website. If you're like on WordPress site, you could use, say, Pop-Up Ally or Pop-Up Domination plugin or some other plugins to actually have a styled form added. Or you have to speak to your web developer so they can style your form on your website. So it's got this concept of single list, and then within the list you have groups. But like I said, this doesn't always work, especially if you have API integrations. And if you do have separate lists for different webinars, products, opt-in offers, and so on, then there's no automation between lists. So you can't say, if someone signs up for my webinar, remove them from the prospects list. If someone bought the product, remove them from the prospects list. If someone bought this product, add them to my customers new list as well. So all this multi-list admin will have to be done by hand, and it's quite complicated, especially if you have lots of lists in an online business. So that's about MailChimp. If you have any questions about it, please just let me know.